So with the leaks of the new General's Handbook coming out, I've decided to sit down and have a look at how the Seraphon are doing, considering they are my main army. They're my favorite army. I love playing them. I take them to tournaments. I think I do fairly well with them. Um, but yeah, I'm not really happy with what it looks like they're doing with the General's Handbook. So the good parts about it is the auto teleporting. It means that if you want to get onto an objective late in the game, you're not going to have to pray to the dice gods and hope you don't get a 1 or 2 and you're completely stuffed. I've even had, like in the first turn of the game, roll the 1 and then try and teleport a unit again, roll another 1, and it kind of, halts the start of the game. So at least, this is a good thing, but it does come with some drawbacks, which I'll get to shortly. I think that's pretty much the only good part about our changes for the General's Handbook. The bad is that, besides 3 or 4 results in tournaments, the Seraphon haven't been placing really well. We had Adepticon, and we had, the Australian Championships and that. But I think that Seraphon have been hit a lot harder than needed to be. I design lists that can fight with Daughters of Cain and Feck and, that level of competitiveness. And while we can do well, and I've gone toe-to-toe with some top Feck lists and come out very well, they don't really do well in tournaments that are overly your local 8-player game shop events. One of the big things I have an issue with is a lot of the points going up. Like Skinks are going up 10 points, mainly because people like Stormcast and everything take a unit of 10 or take 3 units of 10. They're not battle line for them, but Skinks is just so good. Even on plus 10 points, I can live with that. But it's still not good because they've killed Shadow Strike. You're taking 100 Skinks in Shadow Strike, that's gone up 100 points. I would be okay if Skinks went up 10 points, but give them a Horde discount so there's 60 points each when you take 40, Engine of the Gods is up 20 points, which is a bit annoying. Kind of hurts the Thunderquake. It's really only broken if you take 3 or 4 of them to fish for summons or the 18. And, people complain about the D6 wounds and everything, D6 mortal wounds, but if I'm spending 880 points on 4 Engine of the Gods to kill a 4 500 point Ghoul King and stuff, I should be able to do that. I've got to have the 400 points on you. The Razorons going up 10 points is understandable, but I don't like that they're limited to 3 now. They're only 3 wounds each and they die pretty easily, so limiting to 3, you're only got 9 wounds in the unit. It's one of our most offensive units and something that everyone should be taking, and now they've really limited that. It's really one of our only sources of offense. The points decreases, I don't think they're good enough to make the units worth taking. Like the Saurus are just trash. If they were 40 points each, like for a unit of 5, maybe. If they're 40 points for a unit of 10, that'd be good. But other than that, I don't see me or anyone taking them competitively. The only exception with the points decreases I do like is Knights. Having that, guaranteed 14-inch march. They're going to be able to get on points. They're going to be able to take the Skinks roll and just be a bit more hardy, not be able to die as quickly. They've got the better movement, better armor save, more wounds, so they're never going to be taking battle shock tests because leadership 10, if they lose 1, they're not going to be taking them. That's pretty much for the points. Like I said earlier with teleporting, it's been buffed, so you no longer get the negative, but now you can never get the move either, and the move is so important for things like Razordons, teleporting them, moving them up within 6 inches and getting that -1 rend. Or stuff like Carnosaurs, teleporting them in, letting them move so they can guarantee that 3-inch, because you really want to get them in, because if they don't get into combat when you teleport them, they're dead because they're not very survivable. So I feel like the teleporting is like another indirect Razordon nerf, and I love my Razordons. I usually take 10 in a list. So yeah, I think this is it. All these changes kind of kill the Razordons, which hurts Seraphon a lot. The spells, I I don't even know why they made these spells. So let's go through them. They've got Celestial Apotheosis. You can heal one wound. Like, who cares? Like, one wound is nothing. It's not even if it was restore models. It'd be okay because I look like the Razordon. Like, if I lose 2 Razordons, if I can bring back a whole Razordon, that would help. But one wound doesn't even matter. And the -1 bravery to things within range. In a world where people are auto-passing bravery tests and everyone is basically 10 across the board nowadays, -1 bravery kind of means nothing. The Claws of Glory lets you re-roll ones, which is already covered by the Ashlith Bearer. You can get it with the Slan Constellation and also the new command ability. So I don't know why you'd spend a casting this when we already have so many command points because we've got nothing to use them on. We may as well be rerolling ones with the command point. Walk Between Realms is kind of useless. It gives a unit fly. The Slant can also already do that for 1 CP. And fly I find is pretty situational. You don't really need it, and if you don't have it, you can kind of work around it. So yeah, you might see it, kind of, but I don't see me using this ever. Meteoric Conviction. Was that the mortal wounds on 5+? You get like, I think it's 8 dice. So you get like 2.6 mortal wounds on average. It's really only useful against something with 1 wound remaining. Like 2.6 mortal wounds is kind of nothing. Especially, when people are doing all these mortal wounds out, D3, D6. If it was D6 mortal wounds, maybe if it was on like 4+, I could see it being But yeah, it just doesn't have enough output to even bother casting it. Mystical Unforging. It's got such a short range and it's super unreliable. It's an 8+ to cast, and you can do D3 mortal wounds, which is it's D3 mortal wounds, it's good, but on an 8+, if this was like a 5+ or a 6+, I could see it. That'd be fine, but 8+ to do D3 mortal wounds, it's going to be very hard to get off. And if you're trying to snipe a artifact, like getting it on the 8+, not getting it dispelled, and then getting a 5+, like I'm not going to rely on that to get rid of someone's artifact. Stellar Tempest is the only spell in this list that I could see me using. It's good against the Horde, which nowadays you don't really see very much of. So it's kind of useless. I can see using it on Skaven, but then they're Skaven, so they don't care if they lose all these models. Or like, I play Daughters of Cain, my big block's Daughters of Cain. It would hurt them, but then I'm saving those mortal wounds on a 5+, so, it's not doing any damage. And I don't see any of these spells worth using instead of getting the conjuration points on the Slan, or I don't see them being better than the baked in spells of the Star Priests. So I just don't see any of these spells in the lore useful at all. For a rundown, it's mostly unchanged, which is good, but overall we've been nerfed. I've seen a lot of people being excited about using the Stegodon now because it's gone down a points. But they don't really have a place because they replace what they buff. You can put them in like with Shadow Strikes, but then you're not having Skinks, which is what you want in the Shadow Strike. Or you can put them in a Thunderquake, but then you're not having the Bastillodons in the Thunderquake, and they benefit the Bastiladons. The big thing with the Stegodons is, they give the alpha gives the movement for the skinks in the hero phase, which is a great ability, but I don't see anywhere where Stegodons fit into a competitive list. The good units, so you've got, are still good, but they've just gone up in price. That means we can take less, we're less offensive, we've got less bodies on the ground. The bad units that got dropped points, they're still bad units. Like, they're too expensive for what they do. Stuff like the Troglodon, which is a great to summon, but I'm never going to spend the points to put it in my list. I've got the Warriors, if they're at 40 points, I could see taking them. As therefore, Knights, you see some play as objective cappers. I don't know if I'd pay for them. I might still get Skinks, move up the board, and then summon Knights with Conjuration points to sit on my back objectives. I don't see them moving forward as offensive cappers. Our shooting's been nerfed because the Razordons put out so much damage, but now, there's less shots and less Razordons on the field. The Seraphon have had a hard time in tournaments. Even, I can't remember the guy's name, the guy that won Adepticon, he gave an interview with, I think it was Rob from Honest Wargamer, and he was saying, a lot of his games, he got lucky with his opponents making mistakes, and he just capitalized on those. And, he's a good player. I'm sure he could have won with a different army. I just think, that Seraphon are probably the biggest loser of the General's Handbook 2019. I'll still try some lists. I've got a good double Shadow Strike list that I want to try out. I'm not sold on Thunderquake anymore with the Razordon nerf. Like, I can still take 6, which is still good output. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping it does something. But I look at these changes and compare them to the other army I play, which is Daughters of Cain. And Daughters of Cain, the witches went up to Sisters of Slaughter points, so they got on 20 points, and the hags went up 30 points. I was expecting to go up 40 points. I had a friend thinking they were going to double in points, but for what they went up, I've basically taken 10 Sisters of Slaughter out of my tournament list, and then it's the same list, and I can fit everything in for the same points. And that's a list I just won a local GW event on the weekend with. So there's no real big changes for Daughters of Cain. And when that's a top tier list and nothing's really changed, then you've got a mid tier list that people are working at, but they're not destroying everything like Daughters and Feck and everything. That they're getting hit this hard, it doesn't make sense to me. Obviously we need a new book, and it would be nice. Hopefully we get one soon. But the changes in the General's Handbook, I was hoping for there to be just something to tide us over till the new book comes out. Give us something to do. Give us a bit of fun. Prayers for the priests. I would have preferred that over the spell laws. But what can you do? That's my take on the new Seraphon rules. Feel free to disagree with me, and I'm happy to chat about them and chat about my views. But yeah, thanks for listening.